Hey everyone. Hi. Hi, hi. Hello. Hello. Hey, hello. Hello. How are y'all doing? Hope you're all having a great night. Great day, great night, whatever time zone you might be in. Might be different depending on, what time zone you live in. But either way, I wish you're all having a great day or night all the same. Some says. Mm, yeah, I wish you're all doing alright. We're gonna be playing a lot of Xbox 360 games tonight because, well, technically the birthday was yesterday. I mean, again, still experiencing the same issue. Like I'm starting the day, or way later than I should. Actually, I might have to wash my hands a little bit. I'll be right back. Actually, um, yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I had to go to the bathroom. So sorry about that. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. 14 means we're saved. 14 means we're saved. 14 means we're saved. 14 means we're saved. Okay. I'm gonna watch like an Adam Corlick video, actually. About the Xbox 360's 20th anniversary. He made a new video, and I want to watch it. I really want to watch it, so that's what we're gonna do. We'll watch it. Okay, let's see. Where is it? There you are, Adam Corlick. Let me put it like maybe this. Is that okay? Is the audio alright? No, it's a little too loud. I think that's might be a little too loud. No. I think that's good. Yeah, okay.
Figure it out.
There we go.
Hello, this is Adam Corlick from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some
20 years and a day later.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be talking about our friend, the Xbox 360, and
The Xbox 360 is our friend.
the fact that if you're watching this the day it came out, it is 20 years old.
That's insane.
Yes, this is not a drill. This is not a joke. For those who are millennials, about my age,
I'm a Gen Zer.
20 years.
Yeah, it's been Gen Z, so.
November 22nd, 2005.
Yeah.
That one stings.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Oh, that's smart. Okay, let me see here. Can I adjust it here? I want to make a duplicate for this. Copy just for YouTube videos. Let me see here. No, wait. Yeah. That's a reference. I want to do this because I want to do it in full screen. It just looks weird with those bars on the side. I think I'll adjust this one just for YouTube. I think this is fine. You know what? Yeah, that's okay. I think it's fine. Okay. Let's watch it.
a little bit. Now it stings for you. Let's all enjoy our pain together. Before we do that, though, if you guys could like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, and check out all my social media stuff in the description. I've got Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Patreon, Facebook, Spreadshirt, Travel Channel,
Lots of
etc.
stuff.
I appreciate the support on all those platforms. Thank you so much. Let's get on with it. So, even though I slightly screwed up the intro with all the social media stuff there, which, by the way, you really should check out. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah.
That aside, we are going to talk about the Xbox 360.
You know, honestly, I do appreciate when someone, you know, does shout out their own social media, but the way that I see it, if you have to go out of your way to promote it, doesn't that mean people don't want to go there in the first place? I mean, no, not trying to, you know, throw shade at Adam or anything, you know, forgive me. I'm just saying that the way that I see it, a very effective social media is one where you don't have to do much advertising. Its simple existence should be more than enough. If it's an effective social media platform, or if it's something that's very effective, for people to go on, unless it's like a video game that's very obscure that needs advertising. Usually, when it comes to social media, everything just falls into place usually. Like people just go on there if they want to. Like, yeah, you can mention every now and again, but like a lot of people here are smart enough to know that yeah, where people have social medias. I don't need to like shove it in your face. I don't need to it referring to my social medias in your face. I don't need to do that. You just know it. You just know that I have social media. And if you're keen enough to figure it out, if you're more than aware enough to figure it out, then I can trust that you're intelligent enough to recognize that, yeah, we're all smart here enough to know that, yeah, we all have social media here on the internet. Maybe we should all, no exceptions, all of us should do our due diligence to figure out the social media of those influencers that we watch. Again, I do appreciate him shouting out all this stuff, but like every time he does that, I'm just like, dude, there's a description there for a reason. I mean, your audience is smart enough to know that you have all those social media there. I mean, I guess he's just doing it out of habit. Forgive me, I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. We're talking about 360, right? Xbox 360.
And to get this
Xbox 360.
this is not what you would call one of my traditional
14 means we're
recap
saved.
videos.
14 means we're saved.
I have actually already done one of those for the Xbox 360.
14 means we're saved.
This is more
14 means
about
we're saved.
visiting an old friend. Yes, we'll talk about some of the history. We'll talk about some of the games.
Xbox
We can also
360 is
talk
our
about some of
friend.
the updates, things that have changed since the last time I had a major discussion video about this particular console, kind of what little oddities have arisen since. And just to give some more perspective on where this system ranks and lies now that it's had multiple successors. And yeah, it'll just be kind of fun. So,
Well, two
we can just
successors.
start off, I
Xbox
think
One,
we'll talk
Xbox
about
Series
some of
S
the
and
history.
X.
Like, why does this
Or X
console
and
even
S.
exist? And I think this is important because it also helps kind of recontextualize and frame where this console is now.
Where is
So,
it? It's right here.
Xbox 360.
What are you talking about? It's right there. It's right there. It's right in front of you, man. It's right there. What are you talking about? It's right there.
Microsoft, of course, launched the original Xbox back in 2001.
Which we have to call the original Xbox because they fricked up the naming conventions with the Xbox One, so you can't call this the Xbox One, and it's why I really hate the Xbox naming conventions. Just why couldn't they just do what PlayStation did? They have the PS1, which is just call it the PlayStation. But when they had to make another one, they called it the PS2, and so then Sony retroactively, Sony and everyone else in the gaming sphere retroactively called the PS1, called the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, the PS1, because of the PS2. And even the second revision, or the newest revision, the mini PS1, it was just called PSONE, or PS1, with the, mini TV and everything. Which is honestly kind of cool. I really like that Sony made a PS1 with like a mini TV. But yeah, but then there's PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. Xbox though, went with Xbox, just Xbox. Then Xbox 360, not Xbox 2. Xbox 360. They were going to call it Xbox 2, but they had to change the 360 because, we have to make it very interesting or whatever. And then the third Xbox came out and it was called Xbox One. Just Xbox One. And it's like, the idea was that, it would be all in one. You can already start to tell that I'm being critically, towards Microsoft and their macro ways, and also just the Xbox naming conventions in general. I really don't like the Xbox naming conventions. It's just so annoying. It's so goddamn annoying what they did with the Xbox naming conventions. It's just, man. I wonder if I would be able to held on. I wonder if I would be comfortable with the Duke controller or the new controller. I don't know.
And while it modest
Or Duke controller, new controller. I don't know.
success in terms of adoption rate from a financial perspective was an absolute disaster. Losing over almost $4.5 billion net negative is how much that system cost them. But if you know the history of the Xbox, you know that didn't bother Microsoft at all, because the entire point of the original Xbox was to just make sure that Microsoft was there to kind of aim the gaming industry in a specific direction.
Also, money. They are a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They have a lot of money. Probably the most expensive, most profitable corporation in the world, actually. I'm pretty sure like they're number one. They're the number one most profitable corporation in the world. So like they have all the money they have. And look at how they're treating Xbox now as a brand. It's like, oh, so sad.
To avoid threats to PCs. And as weird as that sounds, that is
14
completely true. You have to remember that by the
14
early
weeks were saved
90s,
means
very
14
few
weeks
people
were
had
saved.
PCs, and towards the end of the 90s, most people did. But the idea back then, for those who are old like me, you remember that there was always this talk about, well, you won't need a PC because the game consoles are going to start having keyboards. They can go online. You can check your email. What do you need a PC for? As
Like the
ridiculous
Dreamcast.
as that sounds now, since Microsoft was super threatened by that possibility, they got in the industry just to have some control over its trajectory. That was the whole point. It was actually
14
kind of
minutes were
intended
saved,
to be a
14 minutes were
one and
saved.
done situation, but the adoption rate was good enough, and they kind of
14
had
minutes
enough
were saved,
fun with
means
it.
more 10 minutes
And they
were
also
saved.
had a relevant product they could actually get out in the world. They thought, why not do this again? But this time, let's try to make a console that's actually in of itself a successful, profitable endeavor.
Yeah.
Enter the Xbox 360. So the logic with the 360 was, okay, we had no chance of defeating Sony's PlayStation 2, but we do have a chance of getting out in front of them on this PlayStation 3 thing. So we got to get our next generation console out there. Now, because the Xbox original, as nice as it was, hadn't been the biggest hit, it also gave them the benefit that it didn't matter exactly when they dropped it, because while some people would have been annoyed, it did have a nearly 1,000-game library worldwide, and so it's not like you didn't have a lot of stuff to pull from.
Nearly 1,000? I thought it was like less than 1,000. Nearly 1,000?
So they went ahead and they went into the system a little bit earlier than they probably should have, which would eventually come back to haunt them. The hardware in this thing was actually pretty cool, and I remember when I first saw it being played, I thought, well, how much better could it possibly be than the original Xbox in terms of visual fidelity and graphics?
Is it just me, or does the Xbox 360 controller, look like the Sega Dreamcast controller? Just if you squint your eyes. If you just squint your eyes just a little bit, it kind of sort of vaguely looks like a Dreamcast controller. I mean, there's like a unique, proprietary plug for it, for memory units. They had memory units on the 360 and the OG Xbox. I mean, it's entirely possible you could just say that the Xbox was just meant to be a successor to the Dreamcast, and the 360 a successor to the OG Xbox, but still, it just looks like a much sleeker Dreamcast in a lot of ways, with the memory units as well. It's like they're called memory units. They're called memory units. Ah. I don't know. I don't know. I just wish that Dreamcast games were backwards compatible, with 360 games. It would make the 360 much more palatable. Be like, oh, it's like every single Dreamcast game is backwards compatible with an OG Xbox. And all the 360 games, in the 360. But I guess it was just the GD-ROM. The proprietary format of the GD-ROM is probably hard to really, recreate, I imagine. I guess that's probably why it was not really possible to make the Dreamcast backwards compatible with anything really, like hardware-wise, because of the inherent nature of the GD-ROM format. So, yeah. If it was like literally any other format other than Sega's own proprietary GD-ROM format, it probably would have been feasibly possible to make those games backwards compatible with the OG Xbox. Like if it was like a DVD. Like if they had a DVD drive instead of a GD-ROM drive. I know we're talking about the original Xbox or the 360, but like I'm just saying. I just want to make this really quick, anecdote, if you will call it an anecdote. If the 360 and henceforth the original Xbox was backwards compatible with Sega Dreamcast games, that would have meant that the Dreamcast would have had a DVD drive. And if it had a DVD drive in 1998, 1999? Oh man, you would see a lot of people supporting the Dreamcast. Like, it would have had a ton more support. It would have lasted a lot longer. Seriously, like that's all Sega had to do was just give it a DVD drive. But no, they didn't. And now it's locked down to its own proprietary format. And the only way you can really play CDs on there is with like an exploit, the mill CD or compact disc exploit, to play homebrew on it. You know, which is something Sega never intended. They never really intended for the mill CD or the mill compact disc, for exploit to really, you know, allow you to play homebrew. But it's whatever. But anyways, we're talking about the 360 here, right? I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. 14 means what save means. 14 means what save means. 14 means what save means. 14 means what save. 14 means what save means. 14 means what save. English adjustment. 14 means we're saved means 14 means we're saved. Okay.
Power, etc. How is that even possible? Then I saw it and I was just like, oh, I was wrong. That was a huge improvement. It was much better. Like I thought that era of jumps was just over, and I was obviously wrong. But yeah, under the hood, the thing had a lot of additional capabilities that were really nice. It came with there was two. To be fair, there were two versions. There was the core version with that hard drive, but it also had a hard drive that was hot swappable. So for future upgradable storage and all that sort of thing, you could do that. The original launch models did not have HDMI on them. That would not happen for a full year. It still had memory cards, which were taken out of later models. Like these two don't have the memory card slots. It's only the original models that do. But yeah, the system launched, and it was modestly priced. And it was actually a pretty big success. I'll talk about my own getting it later, but like the system comes out, it does fine. It has an initial year of an additional install base as it's going, and everything is kind of going all right for them. And then the following year in 2006, both the Wii and the PS3 basically launched on the exact same weekend. And
yeah, that's why we're gonna call it for that November. I'm gonna call it the Wii S3 weekend. Yeah.
Microsoft really benefited from the fact that their direct competitors made some strange choices. Nintendo had obviously opted with the Wii to make a non-direct competition console. They were like, we're just taking the GameCube, putting some steroids in it, giving it motion controls, and we're going to be off in our own corner doing our own thing. We don't really want to be seen as direct competitors to you. And Sony, of course, was the obvious target, but Sony got so full of themselves, which it happens. Microsoft eventually would do the exact same thing. Every console manufacturer does, usually on their third console. But they got so full of themselves, they thought, we can make a $900 console that we sell at a loss of $600 because the adoption rate will be so high that the games will offset it, et cetera, et cetera. And people rejected the PS3 pretty openly at the beginning. That left the 360 in a very unique position. It actually not only had momentum at the beginning, but was able to continue to build on that. And it became a success story for quite some time. And the one that was the most shocking to everybody is that the 360 actually did really well in Japan, at least initially.
What? No way.
Microsoft had learned from the original Xbox that they just didn't understand the Japanese market. It didn't make sense to them. And one of the wisest decisions they made, and it might have actually, I don't know who made that decision. It's possible it was, of all people, Peter Moore, the guy who famously killed the Shenmue franchise in North America. But that guy, I'm not sure it was him, but somebody over there at the Xbox team made the decision.
Wait, who? Oh, okay.
Of all people, Peter Moore, the guy who famously killed the Shenmue franchise.
Well, I mean, we're all still alive, so say find the world the great reset and quote these were all the great Salvation Alphas, closing out this Princess and Salvation Weaver. I don't even know who Peter Moore is, but I mean, I think I don't really know who he is, but I guess he's important. I wish I knew more about the people in charge of video games. Maybe because they don't put themselves out there all that much, and when they do, it's like, oh, okay. Okay, then. I don't know why, with the Blades dashboard, they didn't do, like... They didn't, like, make, like, the Japanese lettering, like, top, like... Let me move my mouse. They didn't make it, like, top to bottom. Why didn't they do that? Japanese is capable of doing that. They had a perfect opportunity to do that, to make it more interesting to, the Japanese, who... aren't really unfamiliar with reading Japanese from top to bottom instead of, well, it's actually right to left, actually. That's why manga is read from right to left rather than left to right, because of how Japanese works. The Japanese language is like Arabic, it's like Hebrew, you know? Arabic and Hebrew work the same way. You read it from right to left. That's how they do it. So, you could argue that, hey, I mean, like, a Hebrew Arabic person who's really, knee deep into internet culture and potentially might be a weeb might call their next comic a manga. And it's like, bro, get your ass out of there with that dumbass crap. That doesn't make sense. I mean, that's like if I made a comic and I called it a manga, because like, oh, I really like this new anime style, which isn't really all that new. It's just something that's new to me because it's my first exposure to it in a long while. So like, maybe I should capitalize on this. It's like this consumer capitalism. It always gets the better of us, because when we see markets clashing with other markets, we don't really know how to react to it. And yeah, it's just, well, again, we're talking about 360 here.
Decisions they made, and it might have actually, I don't know who made that decision. It's possible it was, of all people, Peter Moore, the guy who famously killed the Shenmue franchise.
Mm. Quotes, well, either way, we're all still alive, find that we're all still safe, find that we're all the great salvation alphas, find that we're all the great salvation alphas, reset to quotes, find that we're all the great salvation alphas, closing alphas, current systems. Weird.
In North America. But that guy, I'm not sure it was him, but somebody over there at the Xbox team made the decision that we don't understand Japan, so we're just going to let Japan be Japan. So they put the 360 out over there. And
As you should let Japan be Japan. Interesting how he mentions that. I remember seeing a video made by somebody talking about how Japan is starting to crack down on, like, it's not really a crackdown per se, but it's like they're trying to make sure that they, stand their ground. They, put their sovereignty. Is that the right word? No, it's not sovereignty. Maybe it is sovereignty. Maybe I got the right word. I don't know. Please forgive. Sorry. Please forgive me. I'm just trying to remember what exactly I saw the other day. It was a video. I'm not gonna name names, but I remember seeing a video pop up in my feed about how, like, Japan, has had enough of, like, Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Please forgive me. But yeah, either way, as I was saying, it was a video that I saw the other day about how Japan, is tired of letting the West tell them what to do in terms of the media that they put out into the West. How they have to, appeal to Westerners, sensibilities, essentially foregoing their entire Japanese identity. And I remember hearing that guy saying, like, let those Japanese nerds be Japanese nerds. I'm just like, okay, I mean, okay, but like, I mean, it's not going to, solve anything when it comes down to just how us Westerners look at, media from Japan and how we consume it. There's always going to be those weebs who look at, Japanese culture in a very, not as open-minded as you think it should be sense. I feel like nowadays, I think we can all, come together, not come together, but we can all congregate, or not congregate, sorry, please forgive me. I think we can all, band together as people and recognize that, yeah, anime and Japanese, media is unique. It's very Japan. It is very weird. I feel like it just goes without saying, yeah, Japan is just very weird. They're very, very weird, and I guess you could say that's why a lot of people like them. I get that, but, like, as someone who was born, like, in the Pacific, and someone who grew up, partially in the Pacific, not in Japan, but like it was mainly in the Pacific, not gonna be too specific, but it's in the Pacific, that rhymed. Bars. But like either way, sorry. Please forgive me, but like either way, like my point is like, as someone who grew up partially in the Pacific, but then later moved to the States later on in my tween years, I would say. It's right, like around when I was 11 or 12 or whatever. Um, it was around that time that like I started to really get into like a lot more, American based media. Like a lot of the stuff that I, consumed was mainly cartoons, mostly, and video games. And that's not to say I didn't watch anime growing up. Of course I did. It just wasn't a lot. If I remember correctly, I did watch some Dragon Ball, GT, not Z. Oddly enough, they didn't really have Z. Where I think it was on like Nicktoons or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It's just been a while since I've really sat down and watched anime. Seriously. But like, I know we're talking about the 360 here, but like, I mean, it's my channel. I can talk about whatever I want. Within reason. So yeah. Either way, sorry. Please forgive me. But like, my point here is like, you know, with the idea that they should just let Japan be Japan. It makes me think about how I, treat Japanese media, growing up, because I never really gave it much of a chance to like, see the wide array of Japanese media. A lot of the stuff that I see about anime, oddly enough, is through memes. That's how I understand most, if not all, anime, mostly, for the most part. It's through memes. I feel like it's always going to be through memes because, like, at the end of the day, I can't really sit down and watch anime by myself, really, because, like, it just feels weird. It feels weird just because it kind of it harkens back to those days where I see a lot of my friends in high school, middle school or high school, looking at all this anime, that is geared towards them specifically. And, I recognize that, oh man, everyone's watching this anime nowadays. And it's like, oh, I gotta watch this stuff too. And it's like, sometimes I just didn't get it. Now I kind of do get it because it's like, oh, it's much more mature than cartoons. But that's not to say there aren't mature cartoons either. I feel like if I was to sit down with someone who's well versed into anime, like, I don't know, Mother's Basement or something like that. I don't freaking know. Maybe Saber Spark, although I think he's more into cartoons more so than anime. But either way, the animation, I think it's really just the broader animation community as a whole, and and also just like the broader like you know like Japanese culture of everything as a whole that just kind of made me not really give it much of a chance because it was just too weird even for me. you know, and I think that's probably because of just how isolated Japan really is from the outside world. I mean, like, yeah, you can go and take a flight to Japan, but like the way that you're treated in Japan is very different than the way you're treated in the States. Let's just be real here. It's not exactly the most, you know, um, it's not exactly most like America. It really isn't. It's very different. Customs are different. Culture is different. Language is obviously very different. Um, the most you'll ever really someone understand Japanese is like, oh, konnichiwa, hi, ongeki desu ka, I think. Which oddly enough, that's like, I learned that from like the iCarly episode of like when they went to Japan, which they didn't actually go to Japan. I later realized they actually were just simply on a film set in the States. They never actually went to Japan. I'm just like, damn, I've been lied to. I was lied to the entire time. They never even went to Japan. Well, but yeah, Japan is kind of just. I always just look at it from an outsider's point of view because even though I'm half Asian, half American, the half Asian is sadly not Japanese. It's Filipino. I'm half Filipino. I'm not half Japanese, sadly. But I don't know. I think a lot about this stuff because, like, yeah, Japanese culture is kind of like overtaken, a lot of what America is infatuated with nowadays, and it makes me, wonder if people are fetishizing Japanese culture because of just how much Japan really likes being Japan, just how off the wall weird they are, and it also makes me realize another thing. You'll probably know Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Everybody here knows Sonic the Hedgehog. Mostly in the States, he's popular. But over in Japan, he's not that popular. I don't exactly know why. I haven't actually seen any videos as to why. But it's like, well, like, the thing is, though, like, I think maybe it has something to do with marketing. Probably. I don't know. Sorry. Please forgive me. But, like, either way, we're still talking about 360. Let's just move on. Sorry. Please forgive me. Let's move on to the video.
Well, now it wasn't like a stellar success, like crushing it, but it became what was known as the otaku console. It was like in a lot of ways
Just like the Sega Saturn, huh?
in the Japanese culture and Japanese gaming market, it was seen as the spiritual successor to the Sega Saturn.
Oh, really?
Weird as that might sound. Because the Sega Saturn, as great as it was here, over there it was a juggernaut of success, but largely its library was a lot of anime stuff and obviously shoot 'em ups and things like that. And so
And anime.
kind of filled that void because the Dreamcast only kind of chipped away at it, but not sufficiently. And keep in mind that technically the last Sega Saturn release was in 2004. This system launched in 2005. So, I mean, there's a bit of a gap there, but technically that's kind of how it went.
Again, Japan is very, very weird. Here's the thing, again, I don't really like continuing to talk about something that isn't 360 related because we're talking about the 360, but like he decided to talk about Japan a lot, and I'm just like, I just really wanted to voice my concerns about this sort of thing. I feel like the only real way that I can really get into a lot of this Japanese stuff nowadays is with either a friend who is into this stuff like I am, or with my girlfriend. Really. I would probably just get into this stuff with my girlfriend. Because, like, I'm sorry, but I just can't get into this by myself. It just feels too weird. It feels too weird for me to get into this stuff by myself. It feels lonely. I feel just like those Japanese, lonely men. And I don't want to feel like those Japanese lonely men. I want to stand out from them. Okay? I'm my own man. Damn it. I'm my own goddamn man. I'm an Asian American. But like I can do my own things. I can live my own life, I have my own priorities set out for myself. I have my own goals, my own things to do. And right now I'm kind of in a weird pickle, weird kerfuffle, if you will. Consider that word kerfuffle. I really like that word kerfuffle. But like either way, I hope that things improve soon. But right now you're just gonna hear me, complain about, video game industry bad, Japanese weird, Japan weird. Video game industry bad, AAA video game industry bad. Oh, what's that? Another Japanese game came out with another robot, another robot, girl, Eve or Yora 2B, where they're just like, they're trying to make them, they try to make sure they're not sexualized, but also they are sexualized because of just how isolated Japan really is as a group of islanders who don't really know how to socialize, which is why a lot of people who are autistic can kind of relate to a lot of the things that they see in anime. Because of just how weird and off the wall it is compared to how weird and off the wall we autists are. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? If Trump saw all this, he would not want to talk to any of us Americans. He would probably get out of office immediately. It's like, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm saying all this. Please forgive me. We're talking about 360, right? Xbox 360. Let's just move on. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Let's just move on.
So the system, and also Microsoft made it crazy stupid cheap over there because they really wanted to be relevant in that country. So it was actually working very well for them.
Dang.
And it was working well over here. It was working fine in Europe, more so the UK than any other part of Europe. I think Australia was doing fine too. Everything was kind of all right.
Interesting.
But while they were continuing to put out certain games that people were excited about, things like Halo 3, obviously, Gears of War came into existence, all this sort of stuff, they were doing just fine. And then there was a change. Largely around the 2008/2009
recession.
Economic crisis.
The
Actually,
recession.
I'm going to jump it back a little bit. This has nothing to do with it, but it was kind of an interesting point. I think the first major, not mistake, but issue that they ran into was the Blu-ray versus HD DVD format.
Oh, that one, the format
war. You
war.
Go back in time to really remember this one.
Yeah, that format war. I remember
Blu-ray,
that.
the format that is still around today, although has largely been replaced by 4K Blu-ray and of course streaming, was launched in 2006, essentially with the PlayStation 3. It existed on other mediums, but that was.
I have to say, why didn't the Xbox 360 adopt not only DVDs, but the new HD DVD? Why didn't they do that? I feel like that was a missed opportunity. Like, having it, if it was built in anyway. Like, they did actually, funnily enough, have an HD DVD player, but it was sold separately. You had to buy it separately. I'm pretty sure you also had to get a remote for that, too. So, yeah, that was, pretty much a missed opportunity, if you ask me. That was like a very huge missed opportunity for the Xbox 360. No HD DVD compatibility. The lack of adoption for HD DVD really, like, I'm telling you, man, like, if the 360 had HD DVD or Blu-ray, but if it did have HD DVD, it would have been a big competitor, honestly, with Blu-ray and the PS3. Honestly, I always thought, like, why didn't the 360 come built in with HD DVD? Like, it would have been, more cost effective in terms of, like, not having to produce 2 discs for a large Xbox 360 game. I think Blue Dragon and which I never really played. I don't know if I really want to play Blue Dragon, but I've heard a lot of people really like Blue Dragon. Also I think GTA for the GTA 5 for Xbox 360 is like on multiple discs, I think, like a lot of discs for the 360, and also like for the personal computer version of it. PC stands for personal computer. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that was just a huge missed opportunity. And you might talk about that actually. You might mention, oh, why didn't the 360 include HD DVD right out of the Xbox? I'm so sorry. Get it? I'm sorry, Xbox. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let's move on. But yeah, no HD DVD built into the Xbox 360. Sad. Don't know why they didn't include HD DVD in the Xbox 360, but whatever. Anyways, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let's move on.
Basically, its creation. Now, Microsoft had designed the Xbox 360 around DVD technology, not around what we would think of as high definition optical disc format technology. So not Blu-ray, not HD DVD, obviously not 4K Ultra HD, none of that. So according to interviews that came out much later, the decision was as simple as it sounds. When they found out, okay, Sony is backing Blu-ray, that's it, they're our direct competitor, we're going to back HD DVD. But their heart wasn't in it. So they made a little attachment, a separate add-on that you would plug in via USB.
King Kong. Yeah, that's interesting.
It was a separate drive, and it would allow the Xbox 360 to play HD DVDs. And for about a year, that battle went on until HD DVD ultimately failed. It was abandoned by, I forget it, I think it was Warner Brothers, ultimately was the one that made that call because they were the only studio supporting both formats. And eventually they just decided to stick to Blu-ray. And as soon as they did, the domino effects fell, and that was that. So Microsoft was out on that point. But you basically looked at it like, okay, well, now this system plays dead technology, and it's incapable of supporting Blu-ray. In fact, this is a fun little story. Around the time of the death of HD DVD, like right before it died, like when Toshiba eventually had to capitulate on it, right beforehand. Microsoft was actually talking about like a premium Xbox 360 that would have a built-in HD DVD drive, and then there would be, if you had that version of the system, it could actually take advantage of it, so it could play different games, would have different storage mediums, and take blah 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 blah. Like the whole idea was they were thinking about using it. That never happened. However, that was really the first hiccup. When they lost that, it definitely did not help their image. But anyway, so the eventually Blu-ray wins, but was never quite the success story, and still isn't, that DVD was. But doesn't matter. The system does just fine. But then you get into the '08 recession, and Microsoft was already kind of getting to like, well, we're getting ready for the next Xbox. It crashes, and they're like, let's stay out of that. Like, let's hold on to the system for a while. But then it happened. A couple of really bad things all at once. One is the most obvious,
the red ring,
because it's right in everybody's faces.
The red ring.
The Red Rings of Death fiasco.
Oof.
Now, as I said before, when Microsoft had prepared this console, they did basically try to get it out there earlier than it had, so there hadn't been sufficient testing, as it turns out, on quality control. The biggest issue, as I understand it, was that a lot of the boards were kind of all right, but the solder in particular they used was very cheap. Because it was functional, so they didn't question it until they realized over time, when the system heats up, the said solder basically melts, cracks, and things get disconnected, resulting in the Red Rings of Death fiasco. This became such an epidemic. Like, I remember when this happened, it was expected to occur to everybody's console, and Microsoft eventually had no choice. Stephen Ballmer eventually had to make the decision, who is now the Los Angeles Clippers owner. He had to make the call that they were going to have to just do free tech support for anybody with a Red Rings of Death console. So, like, what they would do is you would contact them. They eventually got this all the way to the point it was just a basic website. You included your serial number, and they would mail you a box, aka the coffin, as it was called. You'd bundle it up, and you'd send it off to them. And then in an attempt to reduce costs, they took that away and said, we'll give you a mailing label, and you just stick it on any box you have. And people were just irate about this. Like, you can go back to early YouTube and see a lot of people talking about this. People would be so upset, they would take the biggest boxes they could find. Like, people would take like entire television boxes and put the 360 in there and just weigh it down with as much mass as possible.
Damn.
It cost Microsoft as much money as they could to get it there. I know personally I had two 360s die from this exact process. And I was pissed, and so one of them I wrapped up in foam, and just for no reason I threw a whole bunch of I had a bunch of defective DVD-Rs, like, from failed burns or whatever. I just put them all in the box just to make it weigh as much as I could. And one other time I had a system error where the disk drive failed. Apparently it was very temporary, but there was a bug around the beginning of Halo 3 that some models of the 360 it would basically kill the disk drive. It was rare, but it actually did happen to me. And so when I called in Microsoft support, they're like, okay, we can repair it. It'll be like $200. And I was like,
what?
Oh, no, I don't want to do that, because it's like the price of the system.
Yeah, like $200 just to fix the disk drive? Damn. I don't think I would want to pay for that. Damn, that's like, oh no, that's sad, man. That is sad. Well, either way, Horties, we're all still alive, fine through, we're all still saved, fine through, we're all the great Salvation Alphas, fine through, we're all the great Salvation Alphas resetting Horties, we're all the great Salvation Alphas closing Alphas front system. It's just weird.
But I found out if I just wrap some towels around the vents and run the 360, it would inevitably red ring. And then when I sent it in that way, they had to do the full repair for free. But whatever.
Wow.
So yeah, that whole situation cost Microsoft about $2 billion.
Damn.
Which really ate into the success of the system from a financial perspective. Meanwhile, they made a completely separate choice. They brought in the eventual genius Don Matrick, who is the guy most associated with the Xbox One's DRM, connect online all the time, TV sports. That guy, the guy who basically is now infamously associated with the death of the Xbox brand. That's when he entered the scene. And around the time he entered the scene, I don't know if this is his fault or if it's just a coincidence. At the exact same time, that's when they lost Japan. Now, as the story goes, because I've been in Japan a bunch of times and I've heard this story over there from basically expats who live there, and they're like, yeah, this is how it went down. The Xbox 360 over there was a great success story for like the first 4 years. And then around 2008, 2009, again, the same time Don Matrick came in. Apparently, as it goes, if you believe it was Don Matrick, somebody at Microsoft US requested, or the Xbox team more accurately, requested a visual presentation of what was going on with Xbox Japan because they just didn't know, because they didn't pay attention to it. So they wheeled in a Japanese 360 along with a bunch of the exclusives and just showed them what was going on, what kind of games they were. And purportedly, what happened was, again, it might have actually been Don Matrick himself, but I don't know that, basically reacted to, what is this? It's all like anime and date sims and shoot 'em ups. This is...
Oh no! Oh no! They're xenophobic! Oh no!
We can't put Xbox's name on this. We can't have Microsoft on this stuff.
Why not? Why not? What the? It's not your problem, right? I mean, come on. But what are you talking about? Japan is going to Japan. Come on, man. Leave them alone.
No. The Japanese would not want that. That's
sorry. Please forgive me. Let's move on.
ridiculous. Cancel all that. Don't allow that anymore. We're just going to give them Madden and call it...
All the great resets and quotes for all the great Salvation Alphas, closing Alphas. Current system. Salvation's weird. Oh,
As
no.
soon as they did that, very predictable result to literally anyone watching this video, it failed. The Xbox brand completely lost confidence over there. The Japanese were like, nope, that's it, we're done with you. And it has never recovered since, very famously. And so they started off so strong. Meanwhile, their direct competitors, I mean, the Wii was a juggernaut of success. Everybody knows that, even though it sucked, if you ask me. It still was very financially successful. No part of me disputes that. So that part of the market was kind of taken. Meanwhile, Sony had been very quietly and very intelligently repairing and salvaging the PS3's image. They had made the slim version, they had made it cheaper, they had started putting out more worthwhile games, and people started seeing it as a really cool exclusives machine that they kind of needed.
Yeah.
And eventually, and that very technically, you get all the way to the end of the generation, and in terms of pure sales on a global perspective, the Wii won the generation, the PS3 inched out second place, and Xbox 360 just barely lost of the three. But at least it beat the Mattel Hyperscan, so, it's got that. Which is really sad, because it is easily my favorite of the three consoles in that generation. Again, I'm not really including the Mattel Hyperscan, but yeah, that's ultimately how it went down. And eventually, Microsoft would move on from it and create the Xbox One, as well as now the modern-day Xbox Series X. Its legacy in that sense is that at least the Xbox 360 did get a measure of backwards compatibility integrated into the Xbox One, which was then passed on to Xbox Series X. I'm still hoping, by the way, for another update to that, only because since their last update, Microsoft has acquired Activision, which made a ton of games for the original Xbox and the Xbox 360 that could theoretically be brought over with relatively few rights issues, but whether they care about that is a completely different story. But yeah, it is a great console, and I look at where they went after this with, the Xbox One, and we know, because we all saw it, the Xbox One's intended purpose was not to be a game console. It was like the CDI of its day. It's like, it's going to be a minivan that's capable of all sorts of different features, and one of them is going to be gaming. They salvaged it a bit, made it a better system, but that's not what it was intended for. And of course, the Series X is really just intended as a firmware update of the modern Xbox ecosystem, which we've talked about that to death. These days, Microsoft and the Xbox team does not care about...
Well, we're all still alive.
Is really just intended as a firmware update of the modern Xbox ecosystem, which we've talked about that to death. These days...
Well, wait, did I mute it? No, I didn't. Oh.
Of course, the Series X, all sorts of different features, and one of them is going to be gaming. They salvaged it a bit, made it a better system, but that's not what it was intended for. And of course, the Series X is really just intended as a firmware update of the modern Xbox ecosystem, which we've talked about that to death. These days,
Or
Microsoft and
we're all still alive. We're all the great, still saved. Find the world, the great Salvation Alphas. Find the world, the great Salvation Alphas. Resetting quotes. Find the world, the great Salvation Alphas. Closing Alphas. Current system Salvation Weird.
the Xbox team does not care about having a dedicated game console that is an exclusives machine that is trying to win on its own merits. They care about having an ecosystem that can integrate into various platforms, and that's just one of the mechanisms by which it is distributed. So when you look at the 4 consoles that Microsoft has produced, one was created for protecting a completely different industry, and 2 were created essentially as a way of just controlling how things are distributed. But only one was ever created for the sole purpose of, I mean, aside from potential revenue stream, duh. But only one was ever created as a, let's just make the best game console we can make. And that is our friend, the Xbox 360, which launched, of course, like I said, exactly 20 years ago today, if you're watching this the day it came out.
Darn.
And I'll love it for that. And I like to look back at its history and see it that way. Because it really was the best one of the ones they made. Sadly, not in terms of reliability, but from what Microsoft themselves offered you, it was great. Now, obviously, things like a modded Xbox are wonderful. And obviously, you know, the One and the Series, etc., are more capable machines. I don't dispute that. And because they have backwards compatibility, they do throw it in there. But the attitude of what created it, what motivated it, to me is important because it does really show in the work. And I appreciate it for that. Of course, we had the original launch model, which is not this one. That I have that in the other room. It's the white one. A year later, they would do a black Elite one. This is the one that had HDMI, and then that became more standard. So they really only ran without that for about a year. This actually came out around the exact same time as the PS3 and the Wii in Microsoft's attempt to stay relevant there. But in an effort to get rid of the Red Rings of Death image, they essentially decided to do an entire console redesign, and that's how you got this. This is the Xbox 360 Slim. This is by far the one I actually played the most, this exact unit, because it was vastly more reliable. It was obviously smaller. It had more capabilities, etc. It was just a nicer version of the system. And towards the very end of the lifespan, they released the E, which is what this thing is. This one I barely ever used because by then I was just buying it as like a token novelty to have part of the 360 set. Annoyingly, they all have different power supplies, which is stupid. And yeah, this one there was never any great reason to use it much. But, you know, it was cool to be able to hot swap the hard drives and bring your accounts over and all that sort of thing. But yeah. So I'll talk about some of the games here. I need to get this very clear. Every time I do a video like this and I talk about some of the games, you inevitably get 4 million people being like, where is my favorite game? Where is this game? How could you not even mention that game? Etc., 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 etc. Guys, I could not possibly. There's like 2,000 titles on the Xbox 360, and I'm only bringing out a few for a point. These aren't even necessarily all the games I played the most on the system. In fact, some of them I didn't play, but they're just here for a purpose. It's just chill. Forget that. Forget the hostility of why is my game not there. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the discussion. And then after this, I got a suggestion. Turn on your Xbox 360 and play your favorite games. This is a perfect time to do it. But yes, okay, let's talk about this. So, as I said towards the beginning of this video,
I'm fine.
This system was one that actually smacked me in the face and realized games could actually look better than I thought, like shockingly, even at that age. And the game that specifically did that was actually this. It's Condemned Criminal Origins.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
that's a
launch
title.
Yes. I got this right away.
Launch title.
And this was the one when I brought it home. A buddy of mine, we just checked it out.
I don't know why I sometimes jokingly say launch tittle, but like it's just funnier to say launch tittle. But I don't know. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let's move on. Quotes, we the way we're all still alive, find that we're all still safe, find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas, find that we are all the great Salvation Alphas, reset and quotes, find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas, closing Alphas, current system, Salvation's weird.
Did that was actually this. It's Condemned Criminal Origins. Now, this was a launch title. I got this right away, and this was the one when I brought it home. A buddy of mine, we just checked it out. We were playing it. We're like, dude, This looks amazing. And I sit there and I look back at it now, like I was playing it on a 720p ED TV over a component, and still I was blown away. Seeing this game now running, it looks even better, through HDMI, etc. And it's just like, yeah, that was a really cool horror game. And fortunately, this one isn't made backwards compatible, so you can play it on modern stuff. There was a sequel. I didn't like that one as much, but this one was very, very good. Dead or Alive 4, also a very early title. I think it was a launch title, but I could be wrong. This one I loved. I would always enjoyed Dead or Alive 2 on the Dreamcast, but I didn't put as much effort into it. DOA 1 I played a little bit on the Saturn. DOA 3 was an original Xbox title, but I had kind of just skipped over it. This one, though, I realized why I love this franchise. I had so much fun playing this, and this got me into the point where I was like, okay, I'm retroactively going back and getting the others, and when DOA comes out again, when there's 5, I'm going to be super into it. I never really got around to 6, but yeah, I thought this game was phenomenal. Okay, this one I have to point out just because I'll be in trouble if I don't. Even though I'll be in trouble anyway. This is Halo 3 ODST. This is just meant to represent all of the Halo genre. Ironically, I don't actually have a copy of Halo 3 anymore. I thought I did.
What? No way.
And I
no.
know it sounds baffling. It's because I had the Master Chief Collection, so I was like, I didn't think I really needed that. Although technically ODST is part of that too, so it's like whatever. But when I went to go look at my collection, it wasn't there, and I was like, I guess I got rid of it? I don't even remember doing that, but whatever. Halo 3, I will tell you a story though. I actually do remember when Halo 3 itself launched.
Midnight releases. Oh, is he gonna talk about the midnight release? Let's go.
That was a big night.
Yeah, midnight release.
I remember a buddy of mine who was living in this here.
I like hearing stories about midnight releases. Let's see.
Chicago, and he was.
Is he gonna talk about a story of midnight releases for Halo 3?
A few blocks away, and we were just college buddies. We'd hang out all the time, and he messages me he just calls me up at 11 p.m. And he's like, hey, man, Halo 3 is dropping in an hour. I must have it. And I was like, what does that have to do with me? He's like, I want you to come with me. We'll wait in line and get it. And if you want to get it, that's fine. And I was like, all right, cool.
Let's go get Halo 3.
So
midnight.
I go with him. I get in line, and we're just chilling there. And then he sees a buddy of his who was in the store already. And he was just like, all right, I'll be right back. I'm going to go see my buddy, and I'll be right back. I was like, okay.
All right.
And then he goes over. He comes back out a few minutes later with his copy of the game. He basically cut the line because his buddy worked there or whatever. And I was like, oh, are we done? I was like, okay, cool. So I guess I'll get it while I'm here, referring to me. And he was like, all right, cool. I'm going to leave now. He was basically just screwing me over. I'd only went there to do him a favor, and then he ditched me to go play Halo 3. We were still buddies after that, but that was
Jesus
one of those,
Christ.
That was kind of a jerk move.
Yeah,
I don't even apparently have that.
I don't know what to say about that. It's sad, though.
It might have been destroyed in my house fire. Because I had moved certain games to the house, and I think that was one of them. Because
quotes, well, either way, we're all still alive. Find that we're all still safe. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Reset and quotes. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Closing Alphas. System Salvation
I can't find it, so I assume that was it. But yeah, to represent all of Halo-dom, Halo 3 ODST. I do have Halo Reach, though. I know that. Okay. This one I'm only showing as a shameless plug to myself. Jurassic Park the game. This was a very good game made before the terrible, even more terrible sequel era of Jurassic World. I took all the footage of this game. I edited it into a movie. You can see it on this channel. It's called Jurassic Park 1.5. This game, I loved it. Telltale Games. This is an out-of-print game now because Telltale doesn't even exist anymore. Of course, it's a licensing game, so it's definitely gone. So this is also kind of an expensive one now. But yeah.
I never even knew about this.
If you're interested in what this game was like...
I have the Back to the Future game for PS3, but I didn't have this game.
Like I said, I did the whole thing you can watch. Okay, this one I'm only pointing out because it has to be said.
The Kinect
Adventures.
I freaking knew it was Kinect Adventures. As soon as I saw the blue cover, I was like, yeah. Oh, no, yep, it's Kinect Adventures. It's Kinect Adventures. Quotes, well, either way, instead, we're all still alive. Find that we're all still saved. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Reset and quotes. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Closing Alphas. Current system, Salvation Wayward.
No, I did not enjoy this at all. But I'm only pointing it out because of the Kinect itself.
Yeah.
You kind of forget that the Kinect concept did originate in the Xbox 360. It was an add-on with a camera, motion sensitivity.
It was a built-in game.
It was junk, man.
It was terrible.
I should have picked Disneyland Adventures because, that's a much more exciting game. Not really, but at least I can do a...
Yes, this isn't the game. You can see me.
Oh, and you can see me as well. Anyway, whatever. Connect. We had to acknowledge it. It was an embarrassing failure, and unfortunately that failure led into the Xbox One, as you all know, but whatever.
Sad.
Wash my hands of it. A game I truly loved, Lego Star Wars, the complete saga. Lego Star Wars, Lego games, the more modern version of what we think of as Lego games, didn't get their origin in this system. They got it a generation earlier in the Xbox, PS2, GameCube era. However, I would argue that it was the 360 era where these games really exploded in popularity, and suddenly they were making Lego this, Lego that, and they were really good. And I'm just using that one to exemplify it because this game is awesome. Like, set aside if you don't even care about the franchise.
Dude, Lego Star Wars Complete Saga is the best Lego game. Best Lego Star Wars, hell heaven, the best Lego game ever.
These are just fun games. So I had a blast playing that. And it was also one of those things where, like, I played Lego Batman, I did all those. And one of the coolest things about the 360 that is unique to it, this was the iPod era, as I'm sure a lot of you know. Microsoft in the original Xbox
had the Zune.
this idea where... Because
is he gonna talk about the Zune?
The system had a hard drive in it. If you wanted to, you could put a music CD in the system. You could rip the data.
They were working on the Zune simultaneously with the 360, I think.
Store the music on the console. You could listen to it when you wanted to, but also if games chose to be compatible, they could run said music over the game. People don't talk about this much, but they did carry that feature over to the 360. However, they recognized that while the CD was kind of an out-of-date piece of tech at that point, but what was modern was the iPod at the time. So the 360 uniquely is the only Xbox hardware that you can still do this. They had an iPod app. If you downloaded that, you can do the app. It's just basically a firmware update. You download that, your iPod will now function in the music section of the Xbox 360, and because it does, the games were built a little smarter, so more games supported it. You could basically play games like this and just swap out the music with something totally different. I remember.
Wow, that's insane. I didn't even know that. I gotta give that a try. I will say, there are only 2 Apple products that I will consider getting. Either an iPod, whatever iPod, is like either the most iconic iPod or the later iPod, and the first iPhone. The very first iPhone. I will definitely probably get the very first iPhone like 2 years from now. Because as much as I hate Apple, I will say, you can't deny the influence of the iPhone. It literally changed the game in terms of smartphones. But anyways, Cortez, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let's move on. Sorry. Please forgive me. Let's move on. Cortez, well, either way, we're all still alive, find the world, still safe, find the world, the great salvation alphas, find the world, the great salvation alphas, reset and Cortez, find the world, the great salvation alphas, closing alphas, current system, salvation, weird.
I remember sitting around playing Lego Batman with the Shenmue score. It's like the sound effects and stuff all work. It's just you're playing with a totally different score.
Wow.
I enjoyed that. And I kind of miss that feature. I think technically the Xbox stuff now does it with like Spotify, although I don't subscribe to that. But I think that's a feature, but I could definitely be wrong.
Imagine if someone, made a funny video where they record on their 360 and it's like Lego Star Wars, but it's like, Undertale music.
This one, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. Loved it. I initially only got this because
Banjo-Kazooie.
Shenmue again.
Cortez, well, either way, we're all still alive, find the world still safe, find the world, the great salvation alphas, find the world, the great salvation alphas, reset and Cortez, find the world, the great salvation alphas, closing alphas. Current system salvation is weird.
Ryo Hazuki of the Shenmue franchise was a playable character in this game, so I put full support into it, but then I ended up really loving it. I've told this story before, but this was the only game. You know how you ever go online to play with people and you think you're good at it, and the second you get there's like some army of 10-year-olds that just stomp you into oblivion. You're like, I was just here for fun, and now I'm dead. This was the only game I've ever played where I was that guy. Like, I'm not good at it anymore, but at the time, I was amazing. I was like,
Quotes, well, either way, we're all still alive. Fine third, we're all still safe. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Fine third, we're all the
First
great.
in like online terms.
Quotes, well, either way, we're all still alive. Fine third, we're all still safe. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Resetting quotes. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Closing Alphas. Run system
I was
subs,
just unbelievably good at the game. Sadly, no more. But anywho, I did love that game. It was available on other platforms. It was on the Wii. It was on the PS3. However, the 360 version had Banjo-Kazooie as exclusive characters, which was cool.
What?
I thought I had more than this. I also wanted to point this out. This is Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. This game, I loved it. I remember when this came out, I didn't really care much about it. I got into it later. And I was like, wow, this is just really, really fun. My buddy Matt Sloan actually voiced Darth Vader in this game, actually both of these games, and he did a phenomenal job.
Darn.
And I remember playing this. You're playing this. Unfortunately, you got to play as Vader in the first level, and for some reason after that, they're like, you can never go back to it unless you create a new save, which I always thought was dumb. But the actual game, the majority of it, you're playing as Vader's apprentice, and it's like Star Wars Extreme. You know, like you're just killing everything. You have force powers. It's crazy. It's very non-canon, but it's a lot of fun. Action adventure,
Quotes.
Game.
Quotes, well, either way, we're all still alive. Fine third, we're all still safe. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Fine third, we're all.
Just basically destroy stuff. And this is the special edition that.
Quotes, well, either way, we're all still alive. Fine third, we're all still safe. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Resetting quotes, fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Closing Alphas.
Had a second disc with all the DLC on it, which had like infinities timelines of like, oh, what if the apprentice, killed Vader or whatever and took over, or something like that. But cool, different plot lines. I really love this game. Fortunately, it is backwards compatible.
Quotes, well, either way, we're all still alive. Fine third, we're all still safe. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Resetting quotes. Fine third, we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Closing Alphas. Run system Salvation Weaver.
On the one in the Series X. The sequel was unfortunately a huge letdown, but it's fine. But this game itself, absolutely loved. I'm a little annoyed with myself because I thought I put other games out here, but I didn't. In particular, I meant to put Call of Duty 2 out here.
Oh.
Call of Duty 2 is probably my favorite game on the system, and probably the one I spent the most time with. And before you think of that as too much of like a dude bro answer,
Dude bro.
I know a lot of people love
I like them. They are not the only one who says dude bro.
Call of Duty, and I got nothing against that. But to me, Call of Duty didn't
It's a dude bro game. Call of Dude bro.
turn out to be what it was intended. Originally, it was just a really interesting
Call of Duty, more like Call of Dude bro.
good first-person shooter series based on historical events. That's the part I like, because I'm a big penchant for history. I have a penchant for it. I love it. Studying it. So the game was a way to interact with history. But they turned it into Madden, where it just came out every year, and it was like, well, screw the history elements. Now they're in space. It's like, I didn't like any of that. And the whole online competitive thing never meant anything to me at all. So they lost me at that point. I went back and I tried like Call of Duty World War II. That came out, I think it was on Xbox One a few years ago. I remember playing that. That was okay. But like,
I still have Call of Duty World War II, oddly enough. I still have it sealed in a box. And I'm probably never going to open it because, like, I don't know if it's considered all that great. I don't know.
Recaptured Call of Duty 2. Hell, I'll say this. Call of Duty, I guess you call it 5, World at War. I really liked that one for that exact reason. It was just history campaign against the Japanese. You don't usually see that one. I enjoyed that. I didn't care about the online element, but it was fun. I liked it. So, yeah, I mean, obviously with the games, you could talk about it forever. Like I said, there's thousands of them.
Quotes, Wells, either's ways, we're all still alive. Find that we're all still safe. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Resetting quotes. Find that we're all the great Salvation Alphas. Closing Alphas. Current systems, obviously.
But I just want to point a few of those out for various reasons. So, I want to kind of go out with this, like, well, actually, there's 2 points I still want to make. But we'll talk about the launch of it, specifically how it tailored to me. You got to understand that this system came out at a very strange time for anybody in my age range. For me specifically, it came out in 2005, which was the year I graduated high school, but also the year I started college. So as a result, you're kind of in that mindset of like, your childhood is over and you have to be an adult now, or at least the beginning of an adult. and that does result in a little bit of and so the 360 coming out at just that window meant that like I could cling to some childhood, and it's kind of it's like the last system as a result that gets to play that role of just like this is where everybody you know is still people you knew in high school and all that sort of thing. And I don't know, when I actually went to get the system, I remember I went to a Toys R Us. That Toys R Us, which RIP Toys R Us, though to be fair, it's kind of making a comeback in the US finally. That one was only a few minutes from my house. And I remember calling them and being like, what's the deal? On November 21st, I called them. I was like, what's the deal? You guys going to have? They're like, we're going to have a couple of units. We're not doing pre-orders. It's just first come, first serve. So I was like, okay, cool.
Right.
So I ate dinner.
Whatever.
I got some supplies together, and I drove over there. I told my mother I was going to be doing all this. She was like, you're stupid. Yeah, but go ahead. So I parked my car in the Toys R Us parking lot, and I went to get in line at like 7 in the evening. Now it's Chicago, so in the end of November, so it was cold. So I bundled up as best I could. There were already 2 people in front of me, but I was like, okay, I should be fine. They didn't specify how many they had, but I assume 3 is they're gonna manage. So we're chilling there, and as of course the night goes on, more and more people show up. And that was really cool. But that was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, where you just camp out for a console.
Midnight releases.
But you kind of all bond over this because, A, this is a dumb thing you're all doing together, but you're in the trenches together.
Midnight
Because
releases.
inevitably, there will be people who are like, I don't respect your line. I want to cut it. That happens a lot.
Right.
And so people kind of, stick together and like, no. We know you're lying. You weren't supposed to be there. Get out of here. Like, etc.
Oh, man.
Eventually... I remember it's like midnight, and so inside, like the Toys R Us staff who's like restocking stuff is like they see us out there and they don't really know what to do with us, so that they look at us. And I remember one guy just doing this and being like, "Was like, is that why you're here, Xbox?"
X?
And we're like, "Yeah." And they shouldn't have done this, but they did. They came over. Like, they weren't allowed to open the door, but they came over and just kind of yelled through the glass, like, "Okay, we have 6. We have 2 Pros, 4 cores." So the core didn't have a hard drive, and the Pro did. So, and you needed the hard drive, obviously, to be able to save data, but also there were various features like original Xbox backwards compatibility required the hard drive, et cetera, et cetera. So I knew I wanted it, but because there were only 2 of those and 4 of the cores, and I was third in line, I wasn't really sure what I was going to end up with. So the 2 people in front of me, the first guy seemed to really know what he was doing. He was like, yeah, I'm here for my games. But then you had, after him, the second person was just some mother who was just like, I'm here because my son wants the thing. But, it's fine. It means I'll get the system. Worst case scenario, I can buy the hard drive separately. It'd just be annoying, but whatever. So I knew I was good as long as I held out in the line. And like I said, Band of Brothers type of thing. You come out of
Band
that.
of Brothers.
But it was cool. So
Brotherhood.
as the store gets ready to open, you inevitably
Brotherhood
see
of
people
Xbox.
trying to cut and run, etc. But fortunately, the store manager of the Toys R Us had come out and took stock of like who was there, and he's like, "Yeah, you guys are fine." He's like, "You got to stay in the line." But he's like, I remember your faces. I know which ones are here. And he's like, if somebody else tries to jump, I'll know it wasn't them. So we felt a lot better about that. End up going into Toys R Us. We escorted right over to the R Zone, as it was called. This place to get video games.
R Zone.
The first guy gets the Pro System. Like, that's what I want. That's what I mean.
Not the console R Zone.
And then the second,
the Toys R Us
the one
R
who's in
Zone.
front of me, the soccer mom, if you will, she's just looking at it like, what's the difference? And they were like, that one has a hard drive and it costs this much. That one doesn't have a hard drive and costs that much. And she's like, so that one's cheaper? And they're like, yeah. She's like, yeah, give me the cheaper one. She didn't really know the difference, and I wasn't going to correct her on it. So she got that, which meant there was one Pro model, and that ended up with me. And I was very happy about that. And I got it home, turned it on, and that's when we were playing Condemned. Oh, it was a great time. I had such an awesome time playing that. And it was like, I look at it as like, that was 20 years ago, which is horrifying.
Dang.
But it was also like the end of an era in a certain way, because that magic of that never really came back. Like, I enjoyed the PS3 at launch, but I had nothing to play on it. The Wii I did not enjoy at all.
The PS3 had no
I had a little
games.
fun with Wii Sports, but that was hardly a magical experience.
At the time,
and after
anyway.
that, it was more just, well, we have to get the console. This console is the one I owe that last great console launch memory to, and it was appropriate. I was 18 at the time, But anywho, that was a good time. So the last thing I want to touch on here before we go, other than to remind you, hey, go play your Xbox 360 today, is just kind of talk about some of the updates that have happened on 360 since. Obviously, we mentioned backwards compatibility has been brought over to some extent. We now finally have new accessories. I've been sitting with this thing the whole time. The Retro Fighters controller the Hunter 360. Now we're finally getting better, newer controllers for the system. But also, we've seen things like hacking. Now, I have a hacked 360. I think it's a reset and glitch hacked one.
Oh, yeah.
And I use that a lot because that's just the best way to do it. But they've been infamously difficult to hack as opposed to, say, the original Xbox. But finally, there's been a lot of progress there. We're getting to a point, I'm no expert
Soft
on
mods.
this, but I've seen some videos. People are like, yeah, now we've got to a point where there's like a firmware update off a USB drive and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's really coming along. So if you really wanted to invest in the 360, kind of a decent time to do it because it's just become much more accessible.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, one of the legacies of this system is poor hardware. Famously,
Yeah,
as we talked about Red Rings of Death on these things, the consoles are built okay. The controllers are
it's
actually
sad what happened to the
battery packs,
360
I mean, like,
in terms of
I
the
have a
OLED.
few of these. I don't have a single one that still works as far as the battery pack goes. The thumbsticks kind of wear out pretty easily. That's why I'm glad that Retro Fighters is making a new controller. But all the same, the Xbox 360 is a great console, and I think that you owe it to yourself, if you're at all interested, to go ahead, sit down, and play it a little bit today. Yeah. So, there you go. Yeah. Thank you guys, of course, for watching. Really appreciate it. If you guys do me a favor, please like the video, comment down.
Man, we're already at the end of the video? We're already at the end of the video. Dang. We're already at the end of the video. Darn. Quotes, wills, either ways, we're all still alive, fine through. We're all still safe, fine through. I is the great salvation alphas, fine through. We're all the great salvation alphas, fine through. We're all the great salvation alphas, fine through. I is the great salvation alphas, reset and quotes, fine through. We're all the great salvation alphas, closing alphas. Current system, salvation's weird.
Got all my social media stuff in the description again. Twitter, Instagram,
Yeah,
Facebook,
yeah,
Discord,
yeah.
Patreon, Spreadshirt, Travel Channel, etc. I appreciate the support on those platforms. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all later.
Alright. Well, let's play some 360 games. Okay, so boot it up. Boot it up here. Okay, I kind of want to play more amped, if I'm being honest with you. I'm amped to play amped. I just want to play more amped, if I'm being honest with you. Then we'll play some more Super Mario World. Oh, crap. Is the audio acting weird? I might have to make it a separate VOD if it's not working properly. We'll see. Be right back.